So we've seen these 20-mile-per-hour speed limits that have been popping up all over the city. Most drivers are going to have some level of resentment with this. Citroen have gone the other way entirely and developed a vehicle specifically for the inner city. The Citroen Ami. When it finally hits the UK, it will retail at about £6,000, which is cheap for a car, let alone an electric vehicle. Will it slip through the cracks of what a motorist actually wants, or will it create its own groove in the market? Are we looking at a new TCV? Let's find out. Externally, it's small but distinctive. I would not blame you for thinking it looks like Lego decided to produce a bumper car. Everything is as minimal as can be. When I say that Citroen designed only one door, what I mean is that Citroen's designers decided that instead of designing a door for the driver's side and another for the passenger side, they created one door and changed the position of the hinges. Speaking of minimal, if you saw this on the road, you'd be hard pressed to work out whether this was the front or the back. This modular approach means that it's easily customizable, and Citroen recently showed off 20 modded Amis on the streets of the French capital under the heading Ami Paris. To maximize the minimalism, the lights are always on, which also saves you an extra control stick inside. The basic vehicle is likely to be offered in a range of colors, mainly orange, blue, grey and khaki. It comes with an integrated sunroof to give you more light inside. Speaking of light, this vehicle is nothing but windows and weighs a light 450 kilos. You can buy low-cost kits to change the appearance yourself, and there is a full set of merchandise from key rings and t-shirts to Bluetooth speakers. More about the Bluetooth speaker later. So you're likely to see more of the Ami brand around. So is it appealing? We think so. Citroen has already sold over more than 2,000 units in France alone. And just now we had someone come over that's selling Christmas trees who thought this was really cool. One more thing worth bearing in mind, you could stick it in a normal car parking spot and still have tons of space behind it. The wheels are pretty funky. We went over a couple of speed bumps at 15 miles per hour with no real problems. Overall, we like the exterior look of this vehicle. It's definitely got the cute factor. You're going to have to excuse the bags behind me, but that is the storage space. That's all you're getting. There is no boot. Minimalistic doesn't really do the interior justice. It's sparse. There are 2 seats, seat belts, and the all-important steering wheel. The in-car entertainment is the phone you bring with you and a charging point. There are some molded sections that can be used to stop your belongings moving around. This hole that I mentioned earlier is where you would stick your Bluetooth speaker, so there's that. The air conditioning consists of a window. You might have noticed the sound of the rain hitting the roof. There is no noise suppression in this vehicle, and speaking of noise, we have got 2 buttons here that activate the fan heaters, which are noisy. And I have to say, not that warm. One thing you'll notice with the heating is that there's a single air vent, so anything outside of that range is going to stay pretty misted. We've had the fan heater on for like 10 minutes already, and this is the amount of visibility we have. You'd have to be pretty concerned about cyclists coming up alongside you on this wing mirror. I have to say, it's pretty bizarre to have so many visibility issues when you're in a vehicle that is pretty much nothing but windows. We'd actually suggest that the designers put a couple more air vents in for safety. As for charging, you can plug it into a standard 13 amp socket and charge it overnight. The battery is a 5.5 kilowatt hour unit. The Citroen Ami will sustain a top speed of 28 miles per hour on a level road. On a full charge, you're likely to get close to 32 miles. When we picked up the vehicle, we did notice it was at a 73 kilometer range, and after driving for about 5 miles, we're now down to 53. It's possible that the readings might get more accurate over time. The Ami goes forwards, backwards, you've got neutral here, and with the use of the steering wheel, you can turn. Actually surprisingly difficult to see out of, It's like the frame is just in the wrong place. Although, of course, these are some of the early models that have come from France, so you'll notice the steering wheel's on the wrong side. So I'm sure that's going to have an impact on my visibility. Going to hit the next speed bump at 20 miles per hour. When it comes to safety, you can't really judge this as a car. If you consider what it takes to be safe at 20 miles per hour in the city, it's a completely different story. So don't think, would I rather crash in a Volvo? You gotta think, would I rather be on a bicycle or in a Citroen Ami when colliding at 20 miles per hour? At that point, the Citroen seems totally safe. The acceleration is fine. I don't feel like I can't get away at a green light quickly. Since they've provided us with a French car in kilometers with the left-hand steering, it's totally possible that I've gone over the speed limit more than once. If you have a lead foot, you could easily find yourself losing some points. Another thing with the Citroen Ami, you'll notice that we don't actually have a rear view mirror, so you don't really have to worry too much about what's behind you. Fingers crossed that I and the car are just so cute that we may only get away with a slap on the wrist. So there's no boot, but there's a huge amount of leg room to the right of me on the passenger side to put any shopping. So the full range of customization for the driver's side is moving the seat forward and backwards. You can't do that on the passenger side at all. So you may notice that there's no door handles. You actually get out of the car by pulling on these straps here. The steering wheel is surprisingly chunky compared to everything else in this car. Easy to grip, very plasticky. Obviously no airbag. You're going 20 miles per hour when you won't really need it. I have to say that this is the perfect day to show off a vehicle like this with London's infamous rainy weather. You gotta ask yourself, would I rather be on a Boris bike or would I want to be in something like this? As a short-range vehicle for city commuting or a trip to the shops, the Ami has a lot of appeal. At £6,000, it's much cheaper than any EV, or indeed any other car on the market. More significantly, in France, the Ami is already available on a subscription model for just €20 a month. And car sharing service Free2Move is offering it in Paris for 26 cents a minute on an ad hoc basis. Citroen is also currently gauging interest in the UK, so we don't know yet whether we'll be seeing the Ami in British cities, but we really hope it does arrive over here. Given a choice between a motor scooter and a Citroen Ami, the Ami seems like a more civilized way to get around the urban streets.